Hello everyone, welcome to 3D Design Academy.com. In this lesson, I have a Q&A session for you guys. This is a ball corner. One of my subscribers requested this resolution of the continue over here for ball corner. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. All right, so before I start, there are a couple of things that I do want to point out, and one of them is the construction options. So if you go to preferences, construction options, and this person, I don't know where he got the construction option from, but it is quite tight. So the maximum gap for G0 is 0.01, normal 0.05. And one of the things is for fitting, curve fit checkpoints, I feel like 100 is a little bit too much, but I'm just going to use the setting as is and see where it takes me. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing, now before I do anything though, you'll see that the fillet is 9 degrees. I strongly recommend against using a degree 9 surface because well, some softwares do not recognize degree 9. Even I say like perfect class A, I would only go up to degree 7 only because of G3. But otherwise, I would just try to keep it at degree 5 just because most tools work better with degree 5. Now, that said, however, let's go ahead and take a look at what's wrong with the ball corner and the continue over here. Of course, in order to do that, what you want to do is go to surface continue over here, show max label, show com on, and I'm just going to pick all over here. So that's curvature. Looks like there's a little bit of curvature deviation over here, little bit of curvature deviation here, and little bit of positional continue over here. So if you look at this now, for a curvature continuity of exactly 1.0, and especially in multiple spots or a single spot, that's probably because it's a completely flat surface. So if you look at this, I think it is completely flat. Yep. So if you just strike a line or a curve from here to here, like this, you'll notice that it's completely flat. If you have a surface in either a U or V direction and it's completely flat and it's giving you a 1.0 continuity, curvature continuity, you can probably ignore that. It's like trying to divide a number by 0. That's because, and this is actually, I've found that out from someone at Autodesk, so I think it's pretty reliable information. So if you see 1.0, it's probably curvature. It's just that the software cannot calculate it because it's basically measuring against a flat surface. So you can probably ignore that. Anyways, let's go ahead and actually try to fix this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that this is actually curvature over here. So I'm just going to duplicate this curve over here like this. And I think it's actually going in a little bit. And I do feel like the CV structure is a little bit funny. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align this curve over here. And I'm just going to align here. And as you can see right away, it's not curvature over here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here like this. I'm going to pick this one and I'm just going to align the curvature like this. And you'll notice that it's not curvature. That's your first red flag. So I think everything is set up pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this one. I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. And let's just go ahead and redo the square. So I'm going to just do a square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 like this. And of course, because there's no continuity, it's not, well, if you look at this, you know, it's broken, which is fine. So now let's go ahead and put continuity in. So I'm just going to make everything curvature. And that's, of course, going to make a lot of spans, which is fine. Now let's go ahead and just go through the steps. So what when you're making a ball corner, you, especially in a natural edge, so basically all of these surfaces have a natural end. Which is really nice, especially when you're trying to make a ball corner. So all the CV structures are very predictable. So the first thing you want to do is just match up the CV structure. So these are, at least this way, they're all degree 5 this way, degree 5 that way. So you just want to match all those up. And now you'll see that the structure is like this. So that's when you go into collinear options. So what you want to do is click on the collinear options for all the surface edges that have a continuity. Now, of course, this one is a set using position, so I'm not going to use that. But as you can see over here, now I was able to achieve curvature here and here. Looks like there's a little deviation here, which is fine. So now what I'm going to do is, you'll notice that the CV structure is going a little bit zigzag over here. So let's try to fix that. In order to do so, I do like using boundary blend. So obviously this one doesn't really do anything. So I'm just going to do 2 and 4 or 2 and 4 boundary. And it looks like that's a little bit better. Now that's not however, of course, the middle CV over here is not good. So I'm just going to try and fix that. Oh, actually, before I do, okay, so what collinear does is it basically lines up the CV structure to the surface that's next to it. So let's take 1, for example. You'll see that because it's trying to match all the continuity between 1, 4, and 3, you'll see that the CV structure is all over the place. Now with the collinear options, what it does is right now this one is set up to be curvature to this surface over here. So what it does is once you click on collinear, it basically lines up the CV or all the CVs of this surface to the surface adjacent to it, which is this one. So it just lines up straight. So if I were to just do 1, you'll see that I was able to achieve curvature, and you'll see that the CV structure is nicely lined up to the CV flow of the surface next to it, which is this one. So you just want to do that, and that usually tends to do a pretty good job, especially for a manual one, manual build ball corner where the surface is a natural edge. So that looks pretty good. Now, of course, it's failing over here, so you can always find out why. So if you look at the reading over here, the curvature deviation is 0.4, which isn't too bad. It looks like I was now able to get position over here. Actually, what is the position? Oh, that's to the curve. Okay, so that's not actually right. All right, so now let's go ahead and do a little bit of cleanup. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to untrim this surface. So let's go ahead and do untrim over here like this. And I do like to I do like to just untrim all the way. And now I'm just going to delete the COS because this COS obviously is not curvature to the either side. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And this locator is actually not necessary because it's to the curve, not to the actual surface. So let's go ahead and just project like this. You can project normal or view, it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to check the continue over here, and looks like it's got a continue of exactly 1.0. So this side I think I can actually ignore because it's exactly 1.0. Now there are other areas, probably this one I would say it's actual deviation. Now it's set to maximum, so it's probably just measuring this one. So that's why this probably is an actual failure. But as long as the highlight's okay, I don't think it's really worth like trying to get this all perfect. Now, that's not however, let's go ahead and try to line this up over here. So there are a couple of things you can do. Of course, the first thing that you should always grab is the align tool. That should be the easiest and first choice. And right away, I was able to get curvature on this one and still retain curvature on either side. So that's really good. Now, that's not however, I don't like the CV structure over here. So let's go ahead and see if I can just push and pull just a little bit to make it a little bit better. So in order to do that, I'm just going to use transform CV. I'm just going to use this one. And for the bounce sensitivity, let's go to 50. I'm just going to do a slide. And when you're doing a slide, you always want to use the arrow that's next to the surface or the fillet that's next to it that you're trying to align to. That tends to keep the CV structure a little bit more level. And yeah. But you don't want to, now it's not perfect, so you just want to be a little bit careful. So I'm just going to push it a little bit so that's a little bit more linear. Now you can try to make it all a perfect alignment over here. So you can just push this one over here. Now you do have to be a little bit careful because you are basically playing within the tolerance. So just want to make sure that it doesn't go too far. So I'm just going to push this one a little bit over here like this. And again, you want to use the arrow that's a little bit closer. Not this one, because this is going to basically be parallel to this structure over here. So we just want to do that a little bit, make it a little bit better. And you'll notice that it's still retaining curvature continue, which is good. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Like I said, you want to use the arrow on this one over here. I'm just going to push it a little bit this way. I'm going to push it a little bit that way. Now you'll notice that the comb is actually coming up. That's probably a failure. That's probably an actual curvature failure. So you just want to be a little bit careful with that. So in this case, what I would do is after doing that, after making sure the CV structure is a little bit better, I would just grab an NUV and just try to push. Oops, maybe that's a little bit too much. Okay, so I'm just going to crank that up to, let's say 500,000. And you just want to crank that down. And that's probably getting a little bit closer to curvature. Now unfortunately it's not, it's impossible to know if it's actually curvature, but just because of the deviation over here, but it's I know for sure that it's a little bit getting closer. So now I was able to achieve curvature. Now I know you might be wondering, well, what am I supposed to do with that? My practical advice is just to ignore that. However, if you do want to make sure that that's curvature, sometimes you can get to it. So what I could do is just use a line, and maybe I'll just use projector. So I'm just going to, because I actually projected a COS over here, I'm just going to get rid of that first. And what you can do is you can try a line, and I'm going to use project a line. So I'm just going to project normal like this, and you'll notice that it's actually starting to fail all over the place. However, it's still failing 1.0, exactly 1.0 over here, and it's in multiple places like this. So obviously that's probably not the best solution. Doesn't really matter even if it's a view. So it looks like there's probably a little bit of failure over here. So in this case, I would actually go back because I think this actually, I don't know why this is back to zigzag, but whatever. All right, now that's another. If you want to avoid 1.0, it's actually I would actually recommend putting at least a little bit crown on the surfaces, because right now if you see this one over here, it's 1.0. It's a flat right here, and it's flat here. I think it's completely flat here, and also here, and it's flat over here as well. Now, before I actually was trying to make this video, there is a version I tried on my own, and I did add a little bit of crown. So I added a little bit of crown this way, and as you can see from the side view, I added a little bit of crown this way. I added a little bit. Actually, I'm not sure if I touched that one, but I definitely added crown to this one over here. And now we might be a tiny crown, but there's still a crown. So let me just check. So if I were to, yes, as you can see over here, and I was able to achieve curvature after much adjustment. But trying to achieve a curvature is possible. It's just that with the flat surface, sometimes the surface is, I think it's just the continuity checker that's causing the problem. So you just want to check on that. Now, anyways, I think it's actually, I'm not sure if it's failing over here. I should have not done a revert, but well, okay, so it's just 1.0. Now the CV structure cleanup I already showed you. So what I would do is I would reproject all of these COSs. I do like to just delete those because, well, actually let's use the surface edge instead. So I'm just going to pick this one, and I'm going to pick the surface edge like this, and you just want to do a clean trim like this, and I'm pretty sure the highlight flow is nice and smooth. Now you might see a little bit over here, but I think that's probably just due to, well, there could be it's quite possible that there's at least a little curvature failure, but at least the highlight flow looks really good. You can always try to adjust the tolerance over here and see if that gives you a smoother flow. That probably does, but I think overall it's not too bad. I think the CV structure and the highlight flow is how you want it to be. So there it is. So that's how you solve a ball corner continuity like that. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Want to learn Autodesk Alias and digital sculpting? Then become a member at 3ddesignacademy.com, where you'll find hundreds of video tutorials ranging from basics, including curve creations, intermediate level tutorials such as this wheel, all the way to Class A modeling of the entire car exterior. Interested? Visit 3ddesignacademy.com.